Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is the 1995 independent drama film, Kids, which, despite that title, is not a movie for kids. Trust me. Now, Kids was directed by Larry Clark and written by Harmony Korine, or Korine, I'm not really sure the proper pronunciation. Now, both these guys would go on to have very divisive bodies of work. Larry Clark would go on to direct movies like Another Day in Paradise and Bully, and Harmony Korine would go on to write and direct films like Gummo and Julie and the Donkey Boy and Spring Breakers. Now, prior to this, I believe Clark came from documentaries, and he wanted to make a film sort of capturing the authentic teenage experience. Like, he wanted to give an authentic portrait of inner-city teenage life in the early 90s. So he hired Harmony Korine, who at the time was 19, to write the screenplay, and he casted kids who had no previous acting experience. Now, Kids was a very controversial film when it came out, and it still is a controversial film, and this is not a movie for everybody, not by any means, and I totally understand why somebody would not like this film. It is an uncomfortable film, but I do personally think it's a very powerful film. Now, Kids actually reminded me a lot of the Bret Easton Ellis novel, Less Than Zero. Yes, Less Than Zero dealt with the upper class, and the characters in this movie are definitely more lower class, but I felt like there were a lot of thematic similarities between the two stories. In a lot of ways, Kids kind of felt like what the actual adaptation of Less Than Zero should have been. Now, the plot of Kids is it follows these two, I'm just gonna call them what they are, these two little shitheads named Telly and Casper. Now, Telly seems to have a thing for deflowering young virgins. Like, he specifically hooks up with girls who have never been with anybody before. He gets in their pants, takes their virginity, and leaves and never calls them again. He's a douchebag. But Telly is also HIV positive. You find this out when you start following this girl named Jenny, who tests positive for the HIV virus, but she's only been with one other person, Telly. So, throughout the film, Jenny is looking for Telly to try to stop him from doing this to another girl. Meanwhile, Telly is going after one of his friend's younger sister, who, I think they even say at one point in the movie, this character is only 13 years old.
She's only 13. But he thinks he's found the one.
Now, in the film, Leo Fitzpatrick and Justin Pierce play Telly and Casper. Now, they had no acting experience prior to this. Apparently, they were just two skater kids that Clark apparently had befriended over a period of years, and he casted them in the film, and both of them did end up having careers after this movie. Justin Pierce, unfortunately, had a very short career because he committed suicide in 2000. Now, Telly and Casper are not good kids at all. Like, they're scumbags. In my opinion, they are villains in the movie, but the thing about them, though, is they don't realize they're villains. Like, I'm sure if you asked Telly, he would say he's the hero of his own story. Like, what Telly is doing to these girls is absolutely despicable. Yes, he's ignorant of the whole HIV thing, but what he's doing is so sleazy. But the thing is, though, it's like he doesn't realize how wrong what he's doing actually is. But they do get some humanizing moments in the movie, like, there's a scene on a subway where they see this guy with no legs, and you could tell at least Casper definitely feels sympathy for this guy, and there's also a scene where they see these street performers, and they give the street performers a lot of respect. But there's also a scene where them and a bunch of other kids brutally beat this man at a skate park, and also Casper does something at the end of this movie that is absolutely irredeemable. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but when he does this at the end of the movie, it's almost like he doesn't even realize what he's doing is wrong. Now, in the movie, Jenny is played by Chloë. I'm gonna have a very difficult time pronouncing her last name. I think it's Chloë Sevigny. I know I'm probably butchering her last name. But she's a phenomenal actress, and this was her first movie, and I think she easily gives the best performance in the film. In my opinion, Jenny is the true protagonist of the film, and she's definitely the most sympathetic character in the movie. Rosario Dawson has a small role in the movie. This was also her first film. And Korine has a small role in the movie as this guy at a nightclub. But yeah, Kids is a great movie, but it's a movie where I totally understand why it's so polarizing. I understand why people don't like this. Because it is a disturbing film, it is an uncomfortable film. What's especially uncomfortable about the movie is these are kids we're looking at. Granted, I don't know how old some of the actors or actresses were during the filming of this movie, but the characters are definitely supposed to be young kids, and you see them engaging in sexual behavior, and some of it, like, as I was watching it, I'm like, oh shit, should I even be watching this? But the movie does show that, yeah, kids do this shit, and I don't think you're really gonna stop it. The best thing you could do is educate kids on things like safe sex and things like that. But I also feel the film is almost sort of a plea to actually respect your sexual partner. Do not be like Telly or Casper. And Telly and Casper, they view girls as like these sexual objects, as just these things to be used. And part of why I compared it to Less Than Zero is the kids in this movie do seem to have almost this general apathy for the environment around them, and I almost feel the film's asking, is the younger generation becoming more apathetic? And I feel like the film is almost like a plea to not be so apathetic to the people around you. But again, I like the movie, but I understand why it's not everybody's cup of tea. Now, before I end this video, I want to cut to a short review that my friend Christian Feliciano did on this film, and I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below.
It's rare when I say, how did this movie get made? I've seen dozens upon dozens of disturbing films, and I'm talking about really disturbing films, from America and also foreign films. And rarely do I ever say, how did this get made? I'm just like, okay, it's a movie, it got made. But with kids, I'm like, how did this get made? Because it's about a bunch of kids dealing with sex and drugs and violence and all the crazy things that you can imagine happening to kids. You don't expect Hollywood to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to allow this film to be made because kids are doing these crazy things and and talking so openly about sex and doing drugs and committing crimes and beating a man to a pope. And you just don't expect that, especially with America and all its censorship. You don't expect, them to allow this stuff to happen, but it happened. And I'm glad that this movie was made because it's very honest about everything that kids go through. Kids deal with drugs, they deal with sex, they deal with violence, they deal with all the stuff that, we pretend like kids don't know about, but they actually do. And I love that this film really is real honest about that, and it doesn't hold back on anything. And there are some very disturbing scenes in this movie. And I've seen it several times now, and every time I've seen it, it still is as disturbing as it was the first time I saw it. But that's not to scare you away from the film. If you like artistic films, if you like honest films, if you like art that is not, doesn't shy away from anything, you should definitely check out Kids, because it is a really, really good movie. It's a coming-of-age story, but it's not a coming-of-age story like most coming-of-age stories. Like I said, I keep saying the word disturbing, but it is because it deals with things that other stories do not talk about. It deals with rape. It deals with violence. It deals with all the stuff I was mentioning earlier. And it does it in such a, artistic way. And I love it for that. The writing is brilliant. The acting is amazing. The humor is great, because there's humor in this film. And it is funny when it's funny, It's sad when it's sad. It's everything you want from a film. It's everything you want. It takes you through so many different emotions, and it's just a great film. And I recommend everybody who's mature at the mature age to watch this film And I promise you, if you like that artistic, independent style films, you will enjoy this film to death. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So, I hope you enjoyed Christian's take on this movie, and I hope you enjoyed this video overall. That was my review on Kids, and bye.